IVM.
Guys, we have a problem. The internet in India is 75% men and 25% women. India's digital gender gap is the widest in the world. And this is very clearly reflected in the kind of content that is getting created, in how women get portrayed in this content, and what kind of opportunities really come women creators' way. If you go on TV, the typical Saas Bahu show will have you believe that all women really want to do is serve their husbands or scheme against other women. And if you watch the typical Indian comedy show, it'll portray women as a prop for male funniness. Almost like they're the setup for the male comics punchline. Thankfully, there are some women creators online who have really taken matters into their own hands to drive a change in this mindset. Today, we'll talk to two wonderful women who are leading this charge and really changing the landscape for female creators. First up is a woman who calls herself Rickshawali. Let's find out how Anish Dixit became Rickshawali, a comedy creator, and ask her about what happened when she told her parents that this was what she was going to do. We'll also talk to Tracy Dsouza, the boss lady behind Girliyapa, an all-women team that has created its own brand of very accessible humor balanced with hard-hitting satire. We'll talk to her about the courage and the conviction it takes to be a woman boss in entertainment. With Tracy and Anisha, we'll also dig deeper about how they work with brands, how their teams perceive them as women leaders, and what they think is going to be the future for women creators in India. Tune in for all this and more right after the break on Storytellers and Storysellers.
Remember the last vacation you took? What about the one you took 3 years ago? Okay, how much do you really remember? It's a question I've asked myself often over a decade of traveling the world. Hey, I'm Utsav and I do not travel the world for a living. I have a full-time job and responsibilities, but I have made traveling the world a priority. Priority enough that I negotiate extra leave in my job contracts, obsessively track my frequent flyer miles, and I'm willing to take off at the sight of a cheap ticket. Yes, I am cheap. I have lived and worked in 3 countries. I understand human behavior for a living. And these experiences have given me unique insights into places, people, and culture. With over a decade of travel behind me, I increasingly realized one thing, that we cannot see everything. So whatever we see, we must see deeply. Because as the film of memory decays, the imprints which will stand the test of time are the ones felt by the immersion of the senses, not by fleeting encounters with them. Postcards from Nowhere is an immersion into the world of slow travel, one story at a time. Tune in every Thursday on the IVM Podcasts app, website, or wherever you get your podcast from.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Storytellers and Storysellers, where we talk about creativity, the passion for storytelling, and the business of entertainment. On the episode today, we have two very funny women. We have Anish Dixit urf Rickshawali, who's a comedy creator with over 2.2 million subscribers on YouTube, and she's very recently joined TikTok. Hi, Anisha.
Yes. Hello. What's up?
And we have Tracy Dsouza, the woman who gave birth to Girliyapa, an ex-TVF stalwart. Hi, Tracy.
Hi, Vineet. Hi, Anisha.
Hi, Tracy. What's up?
Such a formal setting, yaar.
I know, very formal. Let's break that soon.
Yes.
Great to have you guys here. Full disclosure, Tracy and Anisha know each other very well, and they've been having too much fun before we started recording this.
Yes. Yes.
Let's be serious. Probably.
Yeah, this is serious. Okay, guys, this is a very serious show.
Super serious.
This is super serious. This conversation.
Yes.
Let me get started. Anisha, can you tell our listeners a little bit more about you, about how Rickshawali came about?
Okay, so I'm a human. That is number one what I am. And I'm actually very few people, or maybe some of my viewers might know that I'm born and brought up in Germany. So I'm Indian, but I'm born and brought up there, and my mother tongue is German. And I speak.
What part of Germany?
If you go into this will go too very long because I have traveled and lived in many places. Do you actually want to? So I'll just say it quickly. So I'm born in Stuttgart, I've lived in Frankfurt, I lived in Berlin, I lived in Munich, then I lived in Zurich, then I shifted to LA, and then I came to Mumbai. Long story
wow.
short.
Is your real name Angela Merkel? Like,
No. She's good at what she does. I am my own Anisha. We do have an A in our name, so Anisha, Angela.
awesome,
yeah.
great to have you here.
Yes.
Tracy, what about you? How did you end up with Girliyapa?
So I don't have a long list of places.
Cities.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But fortunately, I mean, of course, born and brought up in Bombay. And I started off actually sort of physically training guys at a gym.
Whoa.
From
What?
there, yes, I just wanted to throw the bomb.
I had no idea.
Exactly, right?
Wow,
So I used to do
you've been
that.
training guys?
Yes, I used to
Yes.
do that. Then post that I took a break because I had to graduate, of course. I had to have my degree. So I'm a commerce graduate.
Ooh.
Yes, another one. And so while I was doing that, break was over, back to work. And I happened to meet Prahlad's yoga instructor. See the connection. So I used to train people. I was a fitness trainer. Okay, so train guys majorly.
Nice.
And-
I like it.
And then I meet her and I'm like, okay, I'm looking for a job now. I'm done with my studies, waiting for results and stuff like that. And she connects me to Prahlad. And then I spent a lot of time learning the hard way. I started as a flunky at Genesis. That basically translates to slave. Worked hard, slogged, and then learned a lot on the job. And I realized this is what I want to do. And so from advertising, I think it's 7 years, I started freelancing. There was lots of money there.
Good.
I realized I wanted to do more of it. And then digital happened.
Nice. Yes. By the way, I never mentioned how Rickshawali. I just said which cities I lived in, and I said about Rickshawali. I don't know. Do you still want me to say it?
Yeah, the name and how. Why did you think of only Rickshawali? Why not Cabwali? Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because that's.
Sorry.
I love that she took me the host. Now, why did you do it?
I'm okay.
Okay, done.
Sorry, I'm doing
He's
fine.
just here now. Now it's me and Tracy now taken over.
But before we go further, I think Tracy's story is the most motivating fitness story I have heard.
Yes,
There is more
100%.
reason to join
Guys,
a gym.
lose weight.
Dude, and I love
Guys,
it.
join a gym.
Be healthy.
You may get a break in Bollywood.
You may or digitally.
No, digital, yaar.
Oh, yeah,
Abhi
digital,
Bollywood,
yeah.
Bollywood
Digital.
aa raha hai digital pe
Ah,
now.
now it's a digital space, man.
Jio announced.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
So yeah, Rickshawali. How did that come about?
So let's go back to my story. So after moving to Mumbai, I actually wanted to become an actor. So that's the real story. So I'm a rejected actor because I've gone to a lot of auditions while here, like every struggling Bollywood actor, trying to make it on the big silver screen. And I went to, I think, around 500 to 800 auditions
Wow.
in like 1 or 2 years around. I don't even remember how many. And surprisingly, nobody accepted me. Nobody. I didn't even get one role.
Like
They are
not fit
lost.
every single time.
Nowhere I was fit. Nowhere.
Wow.
I don't know what it was, but it's just like, life was trying to teach me a lesson, maybe. And that is the day when I sat in the rickshaw. I took a selfie in the rickshaw. I had an accident, because that's what I call when I say why Rickshawali, is because in that day when I saw on my phone and went through the pictures, I saw, oh my God, this is a cute pink rickshaw and I'm in it, and why has nobody ever done anything in a rickshaw? Hey, why don't I try something? And literally I had no clue what I was doing. It's not like I watched YouTubers before. I'm like, okay, chalo, let's try something. And that is when I went out like a startup, searched rickshawalas, searched the right rickshaw, and started just shooting in it randomly. Don't ask how. This is another whole long story. But long story short, I put up my first video called Rickshawali because there's a lot of rickshawalas and no rickshawalis, and that's how it started.
That's amazing story. I think there's a biopic in there for sure.
Yes, can we make it?
Yeah. Tracy?
And you can feature in it, by the way.
Yes,
Right?
yes. High
See?
five. Done.
And
Tracy will produce it and
Listen,
will
and I'm
create
saying,
it.
like, it doesn't even matter in terms of, I wouldn't say, don't call yourself a rejected actor, because you are, at some point playing characters in your videos.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
fact.
No, so I appreciate that you say that. I think I say that for a reason, and I say that very proudly. I know it sounds very weird, but I say proudly that I was rejected because I feel life taught me a lesson, and it should teach also the listeners a lesson, that if something rejects you, don't give up. I feel this is something that another door will open. I know it's so cliche, but that's what happens, right? All this happened. At that moment, I didn't know why. And I was like, ऐसा मैंने क्या किया? मैंने इतनी गंदी actress भी नहीं हूँ. You know what? You think those things. But I feel I sometimes feel I believe in destiny, and it was meant for something. So the way why I say rejected actor is because now I'm a hopefully successful YouTuber, I would say, in a way, success for me.
Let me correct that.
Successful creator.
Right?
Thank you. Successful creator for whatever my success is, right? I don't know what people measure success in, but for me, I feel I've created I created a space of my own, and I'm very happy about it. Even though Bollywood rejected me.
Yeah.
There you go.
By the way,
Bollywood.
Bollywood's going digital soon.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, they're all here, right?
Yeah.
We saw Secret Games with Saif and Nawaz, and we're not going to talk about that.
Uh-oh.
But for our listeners, the two ladies we have sitting in front of us share something in common. They're both experts at digital entertainment. They've both created massive channel brands that are super popular online, and they're both taking the next steps in their journey towards being bigger, better creators. Before we get to talk about that, I want to talk about something that's very close to my heart, and it's something that we talk about a lot on this podcast. What do stories mean to you, and has it changed over time? Tracy?
I think stories are basically metaphors for human experiences. I think all of us at some point are going through certain experiences. Some people are able to kind of translate that well in different mediums. If you heard something, you tell someone your experience. That's also a storytelling, right? That's also storytelling, and I think it's gone beyond gossiping.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's also storytelling.
Yes, exactly, right.
तुझे पता है उसने क्या किया?
So basically, all of us are storytellers. It's just how efficient we get with time, right? And then we use certain platforms, mediums, and with technology, that has changed massively right now. Literally, there's an accident happening, someone has shot that video, and it's gone viral. So
there's a producer speaking there because you use the word efficient and not better.
Yes.
I mean, that's how you know that's a producer talking, right?
You were right on point on that, totally.
Yeah.
Storytelling. So what does storytelling mean to me? Is that the question?
Yeah, pretty much.
I guess. Okay. So as I think Tracy was mentioning very well that everybody is a storyteller. Every situation is a storyteller. For me, every situation, even the moment while we're sitting is a story, right? So I feel it's just on every individual of how they perceive the story, as she was also mentioning. But I think a story can something be, short. It could be a long. It doesn't need to be. So when people say, "Oh, what does storytelling mean to you?" You feel like, "Oh my God, this has to be like a great historical thing now."
Jodha Akbar.
Jodha Akbar or something. And it could be literally just somebody sipping water and the water drips on the floor. I know it sounds really stupid, but the way how you describe it could be every situation. So storytelling for me is simply everything. It's just see how you see
video.
It could be a TikTok video.
It could totally be a TikTok video.
Yeah.
Yep.
You never know.
Great.
And basically, I think it's a way of expressing how you feel, your emotions, right? It can be dramatic, it can be comedy, it can be scary. It just depends on what you want to kind of say, right? But I think as human beings, we are wired for stories, okay? So if we hear stories, see stories, we can be inspired, we can be motivated through that. And that's the reason why fiction works a lot better sometimes than non-fiction.
Well, it depends. I feel it's also important, there are so many different stories yet to be discovered, right? There's so many people who now, thanks to, I don't know if I can mention the brand, but thanks to Jio, everybody can now tell their story, right? For me, there's always one little issue I have, which is that one needs to be careful what story and which person is saying what story, because sometimes what happens is that people say stories that might give a wrong impact, So I always am very careful about that. Who is saying the story?
Who's the storyteller?
Who's the storyteller, right? Because again, I'm not saying everybody has a story, but it's also how you tell the story, right? Are you saying a story? I'm not saying there's a right way, but there's a right perspective to it. But if there are people involved in it or situations involved in it, and I'm going much deeper now into this thing.
No,
I know.
we like it.
But I think it's so important that a lot of storytelling, I feel sometimes in our industry is not done right or not shown in a right perspective, but because of digital era, we now can tell stories from all perspectives, if that makes sense.
Totally,
somehow.
I think...
I have two questions. One, did Jio pay you?
No, they did not pay me, but there was an increase in subscribers after Jio. I might
Yeah, they're
tell you
paying in
that.
subscribers.
They're paying me in
Damn.
subscribers.
Okay, I'm sure we've got that too. And so I agree with your point in terms of storytelling, but I think it's not just that there are different perspectives in digital. I think as audiences, the way it's received, see, everybody is different, right? So everyone sees, if you say a certain story with a certain perspective, the takeaway will always be different for different people. I mean, I might take away this, someone else will take away that. Vineet will say कि ये क्या बना दिया?
ये क्या बना? ये क्या
Kavita
था?
will be like,
क्या
Hey,
बना-
man.
क्यों बनाया ऐसा?
I'm okay with
Yeah,
it.
Vineet is like the
Kavita will be like, this is the best podcast ever that has happened.
I know,
at
he's
IBM.
Vineet is like, why did I bring these two women on this podcast?
I am patently not that right now. I'm actually thinking of a bunch of questions that are popping up into my head, and this is exactly what I brought you guys over
Did
to
we
talk
like
about here.
completely like take off topic? Like
No. Like I said, this is
like it is somewhere else now.
This is exactly what we wanted to talk about. And it's interesting that you talk about who's telling the story, because there's been a dearth of women as storytellers, right? Not just in comedy, but women in general, where we've lacked perspective, we've lacked nuance, and it's great to have two women who are expert storytellers in your own right in here talking about that. So let me dig a little deeper into that. And we heard your origin story, Anisha, with Rickshawali. Tracy, how about Girliyapa? I know, and because I worked with Girliyapa, full disclosure.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I used to head marketing at TVF for like 3.5
I
years.
had no idea. Oh shit.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thanks, Vineet. I'm sorry. Damn it. And I said so many bad things.
No, what?
I didn't say anything
So,
bad
yeah,
actually.
what
No, I
bad
didn't
thing?
actually say bad. No, I
yeah.
didn't say anything bad. I'm just like, you're leaving TVF. So good choice, I said. That's all I said.
Yeah, totally.
No, she's
good choice.
she's her own person.
Absolutely, more independence.
It's a good thing.
We're going to.
Congratulations. He's. Sorry. Continue.
Right.
Yeah, I love
But you're no
working
more with
TVF.
them
It's
now.
a fabulous
Are
company.
you still with them?
No, I'm not with them.
See?
anymore.
Okay, ठीक है. That is fine. Smart choice. Be your individual.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm a creator. So I am for that.
So okay, dialing back to the question.
I still love TVF though. I don't want to
Yeah,
say
we love-
anything wrong
we'll-
or bad about them. I love you guys.
Absolutely.
Please work with me.
To be honest, and again, you can only say bad things about things you truly love. If I am Hanuman
Yes,
and you
I
cut my
can
heart
use that.
open, you'll find TVF in there somewhere.
exit interview.
So yeah, it's interesting that you talk about the perspective of a storyteller, and it's important who's telling the story, because we've had a dearth of female storytellers, which is why it's great to have two accomplished women in entertainment and storytelling in the room today. We heard your origin story, Anisha, with Rickshawali. Tracy, can you tell our listeners a little bit about how Girliyapa came about? What was the thought behind it?
Sure. I have a quick question. Was Girliyapa launched before Rickshawali?
I launched, I know the exact 17th November 2013.
Okay.
So you need
Yeah,
to know that.
so Rickshawali's
Later.
before.
Yeah.
I
So
started
she's
like
my
a-
senior, clearly.
Oh God, senior sounds so old.
Ma'am, please teach us.
I will teach you. Tracy, just ask me. I shall beta teach you everything you want.
Yeah, so
The orange
basically...
star for...
Yeah,
Good
she's
work.
still bigger in subscriber numbers, but we almost are the same. Let's put it like almost same.
Oh yeah,
No,
I
and
think...
of course, I think in terms of content also, we might have overlapping audiences, of course, but I think in content also we might be a little different, I think, in terms of strategy or
Yeah, 100%.
programming and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
totally.
right? So, yeah. And so
How did you start Girliyapa?
Yeah. So I think the realization was that no one was actually creating content for half the audiences, right? And being with TVF, being with the great mentors that TVF, the creators around, I think it's just an inspiration, and it just kind of panned out to, let's create a channel for girls. And very few people were around. There was a lot of other creators who were probably doing fashion, beauty, lifestyle. And we also said, let's do fashion, beauty, lifestyle with a twist. So we started that. And
I remember those videos actually.
Yeah,
I
fashion
do
wala
remember.
was-
Yeah, I do.
that was the first one. And I think one thing I believe in is that and where you can really give it to TVF is that you can experiment, right? So we were experimenting in fashion, beauty, lifestyle. We were making our mistakes and we learned from it. We learned that probably I think in terms of growth and in terms of also probably what girls, I don't know, in terms of stories that we want to talk about girls, the stories that they kind of can connect or relate to, I think is vast. And why just kind of talk about fashion, beauty, lifestyle? So that's when we thought, let's do comedy. No one's doing comedy. And so we started kind of experimenting. First video was the period song, which by the way Rickshawali featured in.
Yep.
Yes.
That was our first collab. It was like a massive, video for us.
So,
And we had a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of like female creators. And we had, I think, 95% of the crew was female.
Mhm.
Spent
That's awesome.
a lot of money as well.
If I can add into that, if I may say, so I don't know, am I supposed to say that? So I know as a fact, so I did a period song long
Yeah.
time ago, and I
Yeah.
know that it was an inspiration for their things. So then, of course, we featured it and stuff. So I think we were one of the only ones who were trying to create videos for the girl audiences to make videos where people are not talking about yet, right? About periods, about like bra shopping or like anything that basically targets girls and understands their problems, I feel so.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and more than problems or the idea was to tell stories. That was the idea, and of course use comedy.
Yeah.
And I think with the mentoring that we had at TVF, I had a brilliant team of writers, directors as well. So it just kind of became easy. And the topics, of course, we wanted to talk about things that were taboo. We also wanted to do things that were fun. I mean, we've done everything from a period song to How I Raped Your Mother, which is about marital rape, right? So we've done all of that, and we've used comedy in a very, I think in a nice way. It's not just got us the numbers, but it's got us conversations, very important conversations,
Can I ask you to that actually? What did you, because I think we've never spoken about that.
I like how we're interviewing each other right now.
I'm like, since
No,
like,
I'm the audience right now. I'm okay.
did you face any
No work for me.
So no, your work is listening.
Yep.
So bad. No, so what I wanted, because I think we've never spoken about this, because we both, I think at that time did that experimenting, talking about taboo topics and stuff. So did you experience a lot of backlash back
Oh,
then
of
when you
course.
did?
That was going
Of
to be my
course.
next question. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So
Amisha.
basically,
Welcome.
yeah,
Hire
so of
me.
course, even with How I Raped Your Mother and the period song as well, right? Both the videos gave us a lot of, I think, at that point, the year that it was released, the audience was kind of, I think, not really still accepting the fact that we can talk about pads and periods and, what girls actually feel openly, right? At that point, we were sort of this bold...
Bold. Yeah, bold.
Bold,
I'm even till date
edgy.
I'm called bold for some odd reason. Oh, she's about to talk about sex education. I'm like, okay, wow, this is my introduction.
Yeah, I think in 2019, and again, from a very male consumer perspective.
Sorry, can I just complete
Sure,
that?
please.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
So-
Even I interrupted you.
So basically...
No, this is not my done face. I did that earlier today once.
Oh, you did? Oh, wow. Well, let's hope not. Let's hope we won't see
No.
that.
So when the video actually released, there was a lot of initial hate on it. Of course, the girls majorly loved it. In fact, I remember reaching out. So I wanted a female to direct it. I reached out to a lot of female directors. I wanted a complete female team because, again, we're talking about periods. And it's a very sensitive topic, right? And we're talking about something that's very sensitive. You want the right people to represent and the right people to treat it a certain way, right? I'm not saying that guys are bad directors, again, for female.
No, but this
for
deserves
female
a woman.
Exactly.
Yeah, woman director.
I remember even one, so out of the, I think, 18 odd directors that I met, there was this one director who's actually given us a very hit TV show, okay? And I reached out to her, and again, digital was really new. Female-oriented content was new. So I reached out to her and I said, we want to do this and stuff like that. And she was like, why are you all doing a video about periods? And it came from her, and she gave me that look, and I was like, wait. So then I was like, okay, great, but we'll do something together. But I knew in my head that I didn't want her to be associated with it, because I wanted it to be made out of a lot of positivity, and I wanted girls to feel like this can empower us, and we can actually tell our stories the way we want to, without filters. That's what digital does.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So basically the period song, when it was reshared again, it's the same content piece, but we reshared it again, and it was, I think, majorly 95% positive reviews, and people really kind of connected, and even the men, women, same audience base enjoyed it, right? It's just that I think that now people are open to it. Now if you talk about periods, you're like, ki kya cliche baat hai.
Yeah, abhi to bahut sare videos ho gaye.
No, and it's not about video, it's like people have accepted it. Of course, I'm at least the metro audience or the more smarter audience is now aware, is open to it. But of course, I know that, probably tier 2, tier 3 might still be having problems.
So it's really funny, because I had the exact same experience. That's why I asked you actually about that, right?
I didn't hear you.
So I asked this intentionally actually, because when even I released that song, then see, of course, my period song. So I have a period song. It's not as well produced and directed, as of course Girliyapa's. But even there, it was the same thing, right? Like back in the days, like I was sweating when hitting that release button on that video. You had no idea. And also I come from a little conservative family. I was the first one doing stuff like this generally on YouTube. Like most of my family was like, kya Rickshawali apni naak kata rahi hai, ye kya kar rahi hai? Like it was really that type of situation.
Really? Was that phrase used?
Yeah. Oh my God. Most of my family was detached of me. They said that they were telling my mother that tell your daughter to stop all this nonsense. Hamari society kya bolegi? It was really that. I was like, so that's my background.
And has it gotten better?
Of course. Thankfully now that, touch wood, it has gotten to some level. So now, of course, family is very happy. Oh my God, she is a daughter. Like she's a niece. She's a this.
I know,
right?
You guys were traveling together. No, you went home, and I think you were doing some post I saw, and you all went for a match and everything. It was so cool.
At home, yeah. No, so with my parents always supported it, but my extended family. So I remember then when I then released the period song. So being from a Brahmin family, everybody is very conservative. Everybody is against the name Rickshawali back in the days, right? Because back in the days, people thought Rickshawali is a very downgrade name. Why will you call yourself Rickshaw? Like it was so that thing, right? So my whole thing was fighting through that and figuring out how to still do what I love, but yet still, do what, be passionate about girls, talk about girls problems, still be Rickshawali there. So hitting that release button on the period song was actually either life or death for me at that moment. And when it released, actually, how she was saying, right, it was first so much negativity, so many people saying so many bad things, but then all the girls surfaced, on her video. And that is, for me, the moment, at least, when I realized that I want to make more videos.
Audience.
No, there's not even an audience. So personally, this is maybe for me was different. For me, when I released that video and I saw the responses of girls, I was just so taken aback. I saw there are so many girls who are going through so many things, and all are like, thank you, finally somebody's making a video like that, right? And I'm very emotional at that, because I never had somebody who told me it's okay to talk about it, because I grew up very conservatively. So I took it upon myself, and for me to just, be their elder sister or be their sister, to, guide them through more things that happen in life, right? So for me, talking about taboo topics or talking about any issues that family and societies don't talk about became a mission. I want to just go out there and speak more, be that person to hopefully somehow guide them. I'm not saying what I'm saying is amazing, but it's still, if one person gets inspired by whatever I make, it will just make me so happy. And that is what my mission then became, to just inspire girls. So, that was so me.
It's so true, actually, that...
sorry, please go on.
Let me complete.
Yeah, go.
God,
Vineet is trying to say, can never say something.
I was going to say good things about you guys, but go.
Yeah, I'll just say this.
Go.
So basically, I agree with the fact that, you can actually inspire girls to speak up, first of all, with these videos that we make. And again, they are stories. I believe that the videos that we make, at some point we put our experiences. So as writers, as creators, you are putting your experiences or your neighbor's experiences or your help's experiences, and you're putting all of that in content, right? Because somewhere or the other, someone will connect with that piece of content. And I think with Girliyapa, Rickshawali, there's mostly Sain, Sherry, all these people, all the female creators, I think we are all telling female stories in our own way. And what I realize is that earlier I felt that there were not enough women actually online consuming content. And I feel that number is also changing. I think a lot of girls are also consuming content. And that's the reason why probably if I felt like, when the video released first, it didn't get that kind of, reception that I was looking at. But I think right now, again, if you release the video, it's fine. And I think it'll be, well appreciated. And again, the audience is evolved as well.
Yeah, it's growing. Sorry, Vinny. Yes.
No,
finally.
No, this was lovely. I think I'm paying back for all the men who've interrupted women, so that's fun.
Ooh, this is becoming another type of show.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, and totally right. I think the whole point of having you guys here is to talk about this. So that was just truly insightful. I think I was very fortunate to be a part of Girliyapa's journey when it was starting out. And Anisha said, I'm not saying I'm doing something great. I'm saying you guys are doing something great. Because as an outside observer of how people react to content that talks about stuff that isn't talked about so much, be it menstrual issues, be it women's health, be it marital rape, I think there has been a substantial change in how audiences receive this message, right? And I think kudos to you guys to be able to do that over time at personal risk, at emotional risk, like you said. I remember when we were putting out How I Raped Your Mother, and How I Raped Your Mother is a satire about marital rape. It's loosely adapted from How I Met Your Mother, but it's got the whole Indian family in there, etc. And I think it was one of the first videos where we had to put like a stats disclaimer at the end, and Tracy and I had like a last 15-minute very
before
anxious,
the release. Even the name itself, I remember, and we were like, ye kya? At some point there is
a very dicey talk. Like you don't know what could happen.
Insecurities, all of that.
Absolutely. And when it landed, what we saw was conversation where there were men who understood the gravity of the situation. And it takes me back to what we were talking about earlier about how stories have the power to incite change. Stories have the power to drive conversation. And we're seeing incrementally that change happen. On that happy note, let's take a quick short break. Our listeners come back right after this message.
Hey everybody, welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you are not following us on social media, please make sure you do. And it's about time that you did. So we're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Go to whichever platform you prefer or all three of them and click and follow. Also, you should check out our Instagram feed. We have a lot of interesting stuff going on over there. Peeks inside what's going on in the studio, polls, all kinds of cool stuff. So definitely come out there. Want to thank our sponsors this week, Cambly, Intel, and Storytel. Our sponsors make this stuff possible, and so please make sure that you shout out to them. Let them know that you appreciate it. One more note before we get into talking about what went on in the network this week, and that was that I would appreciate, deeply appreciate it, if you guys could go to ivmpodcast.com/survey or go to the website and click on the survey heading. And what we're going to do is we're going to do another listener survey. We'd like to know a little bit more about you, who's listening to us, why you're listening to us, what you want out of us, all of that kind of stuff. So, it would be really, really helpful to us if we could get a little bit of more information from you guys about who you are. And that would help us kind of go out and talk to advertisers, which is, again, as I mentioned earlier, how we get this thing going. So this week we're premiering a new Hindi storytelling show. It's called Tapri Tales and it's hosted by Madhuri Advani. Madhuri narrates day-to-day stories and occurrences in women's lives across generations. This week she questions the tea-serving traditions in our house through the mother and daughter pair in her story called Chai Ki Cha. On the scene and the unseen, JP Narayan, founder and president of the Lok Satta Party, returns as a guest to talk to Amit Verma. They deep dive into the state of Indian politics. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam is in conversation with Dr. Vijay Malik. He talks about his blog, why he believes in stocks, and what is peaceful investing. On Football Shitball, Gaurav, Karthik and Siva round up the EPL fixtures of the weekend, last week's Champions League's madness and the FPL. On Advertising is Dead, Varun is joined by Turkish entrepreneur Efe Kakarel, founder and CEO of Mubi. They talk about the different kinds of cinema and its reach. On Pulyabazi, Pranay and Saurabh are joined by Kabir Taneja, a fellow with the Observer Research Foundation. They discuss the psychology of terrorists and the Islamic State's online propaganda machine. On The Habit Coach, Ashton shares 4 traits that one needs to be lucky and to approach the world in a positive way. On Heel and Hearty, Rachna talks about the importance of organic foods and unravels the myth and realities behind organic produce. On 9XM Soundcast, Eva is joined by playback singer Divya Kumar, who talks about the importance of folk and classical music. And with that, let's get you on with your show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Storytellers and Storysellers. We still have Tracy and Anisha with us, and we're talking about content for women. We talked about creating hard-hitting stuff. We talked about creating funny stuff. I'm going to ask you a difficult question here.
Uh-oh.
How do you fund this? Do brands take easily to socially relevant messaging? Do brands take easily to the creator's vision of realizing something like How I Raped Your Mother?
Dude, I sold my house for this. I don't live anywhere. I live in a rickshaw. That's the truth. You know, we go for it, man.
Like, is it the same rickshaw or do you change it every day?
I do change it. I have to pay a rickshawala 100 rupees every time, but it's okay.
Is Uber endorsing you for that?
No, Uber is definitely not endorsing me. He's like, your name is Rickshawali. I'm not going to advertise.
That's a web show right there.
Yeah, right there. No, I'm sorry. I was joking. I live somewhere. I'm not homeless, guys.
You live somewhere that's not a rickshaw, just to be clear.
I live somewhere not a rickshaw, but I do have a rickshaw in my house.
Basically, she's saying that I have made so much of money with brands that I now live in a very spanky house in Bandra.
No, I don't.
Which is shaped like a rickshaw.
No. I would like to change that. I live in a house which has a rickshaw because that's the only space I can afford inside a house. Does that make sense? No.
Too deep.
It does.
Too deep.
It does make sense.
It's like an inception, deeper into deeper.
It's like some kind of architectural innovation here. People have houses with like swimming pools or parking lots. You have a rickshaw.
Yes,
that's amazing.
I live in that.
But how do you pay for it is the question.
Brands.
Brands.
We'll go. I mean, of course. So I have not yet, touched wood, didn't have to sell my house yet for that. So I think between me and Tracy, maybe it's slightly different. Maybe because I'm a single creator, started on my own with my phone and did it from my home back in the days. So back in the days, I didn't really need money because, I mean, of course, you always need money, but you do it for passion and fun. You just entertain people. But then after a while, you now need to make money and you need to like make a living out of this. So, of course, brands are important because sadly, the YouTube views don't pay you much in India, sadly. So yeah, it's nice working with brands, of course, with certain brands, because the creativity comes into a problem there. Because many times brands don't want you to do what you want to do, and you have to do what they want to do. So it depends. It's just a very small, dicey situation how you have to tackle it to have both at hands. But yes, brands are extremely important to sustain this. It's like TV, right? Without ads, you can't watch TV also, right?
Absolutely.
So similar brands are important.
So what do you do when a brand doesn't agree with you?
Okay.
She wants to say something to this.
Yeah,
I think.
So that
okay,
as well. I want to add something else as well. So, so I think one is that there are a lot of ways to make money as a creator, right? And it's no longer just YouTube. You have Instagram, you have Facebook. As an influencer, you can make a certain kind of money, and then as a creator.
I don't like the word influencer, but yes.
Okay, let me complete this and we'll
come
to that as well.
Continue.
So, of course, you have your YouTube views, what you get paid for that, the revenue from there. You have brands, of course. You can syndicate your... that's what I wanted to ask you. Are you speaking to Ola, Uber to license your content out to... What is that screen called?
Yeah, that inside screen.
The in-cap screen, yeah?
Yeah, like that.
See, dude, the thing is with single creators, it becomes a little difficult to pan out everywhere, right? Because what the issue with us is, we do everything, right? And it's not like we're a production house, right? So I have to... Of course, you build a team eventually, but still, it's not like I was born to do this.
Got it.
Right? It's like you're kind of still figuring out, okay, I have a team of 4 or 5 people, of course, but doing stuff like this takes another whole level in understanding.
And then dealing and figuring out how to actually do that.
Correct.
Sorry, completing that revenue bit of it. So, I think working with brands, if their messaging and your positioning align, then it's a match made in heaven, right? But if it doesn't, I think it's initially difficult to kind of, create something that they'll also be satisfied. But yes, the revenue is important. You have to make a brand happy. they're also, I think, growing and evolving and becoming very collaborative. It's no longer it's not about the logo. It's now, right? They are opening up, and plus with
God help us
younger
with logo bade karo.
Yeah, logo.
Exactly, right? So it's
Beach
not
mein
about
rakho,
that.
beach
So
mein.
the traditional mindset is kind of also changing. Brands are now quite open to experimenting and doing things. Airtel Live, that happened, right? I mean, it was one in a kind of experience that was there. So there are brands, traditional brands also, that are willing to experiment. So it's easier to work with them, I think, now compared to probably 2 or 3 years back, where it was like, nahi, hame ye chahiye, ye chahiye, ye chahiye. And because it's again, even, I mean, as creators, we are kind of evolving. I think even as brands, they are also adapting now, and they realize that TV pe zyada paisa nahi dalna hai, digital pe dalte hain, and we'll get a couple of influencers and, let's make most. Because of course, your audience is now not on TV majorly. They are sitting with their phones. So, yeah. But I think it's easier to work with brands. I mean, yes, you do get difficult brands as well who are, who've got a certain campaign and who want certain deliverables, and they will probably not negotiate. But I think then you decide if, probably it's like that. You do 8 videos for you and you do 1 or 2 for the brand.
That's just channel running gold from Tracy right there. I want to double click on your production processes, right? And I mean, I'm interested to see the contrast between, like Anisha mentioned, being a single creator, whereas Tracy runs a team that is massive, almost all women. How do you run something? I mean, I think at both places you need to be a lean production process, something that turns things around fast, which is the complete antithesis of the creative process, right? Mera creative process hai, main apne hisab se time leke karungi, as opposed to when brands come around, they have deadlines, they have campaigns and stuff. So how do you keep your production process lean, and how do you make sure things turn around on time with a certain degree of quality?
Just also wanted to add to the earlier one, actually it's a question, is that as an individual creator, is it easier to work with brands?
No, definitely not.
Okay, because see, I mean, I'm just asking, it's your channel, you own it, you are creating the content, the last decision is
mine.
you, right?
Yeah.
So if a brand says that probably I want certain things certain way, so is that something that you would be flexible on, or?
It depends, of course. So I have had many conversations with brands where sometimes I also back off, right? And I say that no, like people were like, oh, I want a 4-minute integration, or I want a logo.
Oh my God, 4-minute integration.
So now I don't know how it is to work in a huge team. So in my perspective, it is never easy. Let's put it that way. Do you want me to get into like the bits and pieces?
Oh yeah, please tell us your
all of
horror
it.
stories.
Oh God, all the horror stories. Yeah, I mean, just recently, I won't mention the brand. I did something I wasn't very happy about, and I told the brand as well that, listen, if we do this, it won't work. And when I was like, no, we want this only, and of course, it didn't work, right? So of course, see, there are sometimes those things where you do something even you don't want to, but that's like a fine. It was something very bad, but it's just something that I was advising brands that, see, certain things just don't work, right? But if you've worked with a brand before and they're still not very like into YouTube yet, they're a little rigid, as Tracy was mentioning. But I would say working with people who give you money is always difficult. But there are very cool brands I've worked with that are really open-minded, and like they understand that no, totally, we don't want like our brand to be in the front of the camera. We want it to be like somewhere lying, just show it very like gently and all. Those are the best brands to work with. And of course, because I think I'm the only one making the decision here, it makes it easier, I feel, because there's nobody else telling me, no, you shouldn't do it, right? Which I think on Tracy's perspective, there must be a lot of other people who are deciding if yes, no. I mean, I don't really know this world. But for me, it's nice to work with brands. Yeah. I think
Lovely.
That's right.
Tracy, how about you?
I think we love what we do, and we love working with brands who also love what we do.
Yes, correct.
Right. I think what brands, more and more brands are realizing, and it's very heartening to hear that you enjoy working with brands, because that story has also changed over time, right? I think more and more brands have now realized that they're working with people who are carrying a TV channel that reaches 1 million people in their pocket. right? You can, at the click of a button, you can reach out to them, and it's your credibility on the line first, and the brand's credibility comes second, right?
And also the understanding of that audience.
Absolutely. I think creators understand their audiences much, much better than brands, and more brands are wisening up to that.
And viewers are not idiots, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. They understand that we are making, like, there's an ad here, right? They do understand when we show a product, right? So, I mean, see, we need to be honest to our viewers, right? We cannot be just like pretending to, we're doing an ad, because at the end of the day, like, I have such a close connection to them. Whatever I do in my video for the brands just has to come from some honest perspective. It can't be just like pretending to, advertise. And it doesn't, and also for me, it's very important that I identify with the brand. It's not like so I don't advertise about alcohol or any other smoking stuff or whatever else. And that's very important as well with selecting the brands for your channel, because you know your brand, you know your audience, and you want to be honest and sell them something that you stand for and not don't stand for, because that might be different than TV. It's like, because I have also younger audience, and if I say to them that, hey, here is this alcohol, drink it, and then they're like, oh yeah, okay, Anisha Didi is saying that, let's buy it. Because they take it also more seriously than just a normal audience who doesn't know you, because they know us. Like, they know people on Girliyapa, they know me. So it's just a responsibility, I feel.
But I think, like I was saying earlier, that it's become a very collaborative process right now. I think, of course, there are the traditional brands, but also there are brands that are willing to experiment. There are brands willing to take a certain risk. There are brands willing to listen to what you have to say.
Can you give us an example?
Because there's a little trust, right? For example, I think like Airtel Live that I was saying.
Airtel Connected Live?
Sorry, my bad. Airtel Connected Live. So for Airtel to do something like that, right? I think it was one of a kind. We've not seen. In fact, I don't think someone else has, followed up with something similar at all, right? And it's a risk, but they were more than happy to do that. And they, were sold with the idea. And again, so they are a fun brand. So there are a lot of other cool brands who are now willing to experiment and try and do something different. And it's not just that. I think the understanding that, yes, these creators know their audience. They trust the creators more. Of course, they are also accountable. The account managers have a certain... they also have to, of course, they are also accountable, and they, at the end of the day, need to show certain numbers, so they have to have certain deliverables that need to be met. But majorly, it's been a very great process. It is difficult, the process, till the time you convince them that this is the idea and let's go with this will work brilliantly for the audience and for the brand as well, right? So once they are convinced, then they'll trust you. And then, of course, it's not just the video. You build the world around it on like Facebook, on Insta, and there's a complete campaign. And if they're happy with the overall returns that they get, so they'll come back as well. So we've also been able to build a relationship like that with brands, and again, I think as creators also, we've also been able to try and integrate the brand where it's not in your face, because see, our audiences come to watch content. They're not coming to watch an ad. So it's important for us, and I think Girliyapa has been able to do that very nicely, is try and integrate the brand seamlessly so it doesn't feel like it's in your face. And of course, sometimes we have to give a certain messaging out because that's a brand mandate, but it's always been fun working with brands.
That's awesome. Let me ask you, it's a hits and misses business, right? Entertainment. Creativity is not a God gift for everyone, and it's not something that's certain to happen every single time. What happens when you take a punt on something that you believe in? You go to a brand and you tell them, this is what I want to do, and it doesn't work.
I can tell you a story, if I may.
Go for it.
So I'm working on a project for some time now. Can't actually disclose it yet because it's still in work in progress for certain reasons.
It will just stay here in this room.
No, it doesn't matter. That's also not the point. The point is it's a little bit more intense. And I've approached a couple of brands about it, and every brand is like, no, we don't want to associate with that, right? So because it talks about more intense things, as I mentioned, and I feel that is a problem. Of course, then they have also personally, I don't want to. I mean, I wish there was a way, where creators could create and could make content with something which is very meaningful without a brand backing it, because I feel the essence goes of that message of whatever you want to create, right? Because it's just like, oh, let's show these shoes, let's show this. So I've had experiences. There are very few brands. I don't know what is your experience, Tracy, because of course you guys have made a lot of, very hard-hitting content. But for me personally, there has been, it's been a bit of a backlash yet. And I really wish and hope there would be more brands who are open. And I do see it on TV yet. I do see some brands are making some really cool TV ads, where it's not about the product, it's about the messaging. It's about what, the audience will perceive of this advertisement. And I wish also online there'll be more brands who be open to, of course, little creative freedom, like where I do a few changes here and there is fine. But it just can't be like the moment you just show a brand and something is just, I don't know, will be off. And I just hope it changes. I don't know, how is it for you, Tracy?
I see in terms of where social, okay, I won't mention the video, but so there was a video and we had approached a couple of brands, and on the day of the shoot, okay, there's a shoot that's going on in a certain place. I had to leave the shoot and go to meet the brand key people. And when I met them, they told me that because of a certain person who was associated with that, video, we would not want to be associated with this. This is on the day of the shoot, right? This is the initial phase. Now it's different.
Before?
Yeah. So no, it was all when it's pitched to a client, it's pitched with all the details, right?
Of course,
so we give them
everything.
So that was already kind of communicated, okay? But this was last minute that we were told that we want kind of do. But I have to say this is that brand currently has done a lot of partnerships with us. And because I think it's a learning, like I said, for us, I wish I could take names, but okay. So, I mean, but
at your own risk. None of the opinions expressed here are opinions of IVM podcasts.
Ooh.
And nothing will be edited out.
Again, this is my personal opinion, and this is not Girliyapa's opinion. This is just my experience,
Fine, take yourself out of it.
Great. So,
my disclaimer.
I think we're at a very interesting point in the conversation.
Sorry, so I was just completing that. Is that, so the bottom line is that brands are now, I think, getting better in learning as well, right?
Yeah.
And they were difficult, of course. When we started 4 years back, it was difficult. We had to, because they are taking a risk. The digital space, doing content on digital itself was like we are just throwing ourselves into the sea, right?
Yeah.
So you don't know whether it's going to work or not work, and then there's a certain price point. So we're going to spend so and so amount of monies, and is it going to be worth it? Are we going to really get that kind of an engagement? But now there are metrics. Now you can so there's no bluffing around. Things have changed, and brands are also learning how to deal with it. Brands are also learning to give creators freedom. So it's becoming a better place to be.
Just one quick thing before I know Vineet wants to take over.
Sorry,
I just have questions.
I know. Good. I love the questions. There's this one project I just finished. Again, can't talk about it because it's not out yet. But that brand was amazing. That brand was actually 2 brands in one, which is really fun. And they totally got it. Literally on the
You
day.
can name them.
I can't disclose it. That's the problem. I'm not allowed to. But on the set, on the day of the shoot, it was really hilarious. So I'll tell you what happened. So I had to write a thing. There was a lot of stuff I had to write about and all that. And at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I don't know what will happen with this. Okay? So then I came on sets, and then I knew what was going to happen, but I didn't know exactly what was going on. But then I'm like, boom, they figured it out. They knew exactly the right messaging, and they didn't really care about what is being said, how it's being said, what is being showed. They were just like, no, we totally love this vibe. We want to go with this. This is exactly what our messaging, what we want to go for. And so I was just like, wow, I finally met a brand who gets it, fully gets it. I'm telling you, absolutely total freedom. I was the most happiest person on that day. And I really want more brands to be like this, because it's just so fulfilling, when you don't have to constantly fight with the brands and like just shake them and say, no, you don't understand.
I know the feeling.
I know. We need this like every morning, I feel. So that was just like this one incident. I would say 100% I loved working with the brand. 100%.
It's amazing to hear stories like that. I've had experiences with brands which have been great, and then I've had experiences with brands where I'm fighting for 45 minutes because someone wants 2 more seconds of my car shot in the trailer.
Oh God.
Right. So I completely relate to that.
Oh yeah. And logo.
Oh yeah. I don't think.
And shout out of the name with the undertitle.
Yeah, see, I get where they're coming from, and I know that impressions are important and all of that. It is how you actually, tie back the last mile, etc. But there's so much more to creating with digital creators than just landing the impression. It is about the messaging. It is about making sure the message lands really well. One of the brands that I really like to talk about is what Whisper did with Girliyapa last year with Sit Improper. I think the entire approach was so fresh. It was about creating content for different segments in the audience and talking to them at different with different contexts, talking to them through different stories. There was a music video. There was this really satirical sketch about bus seat na milegi dobara, and then there was this really touching video called Mom Dadi Aur Period, where it was an intergenerational conflict and talking about busting myths around menstruation. Very, very interesting approach to content. It's very heartening to see. I see more and more brands doing that. Let me flip this conversation around.
And I think Whisper is a brand like that. They're very open to collaborate. It's a very collaborative approach. They'll tell you their brief and they're open to suggestions, and we've had a fabulous journey with Whisper.
Fantastic. Let me flip this conversation around and ask you about, we heard about your journeys working with brands, and we heard about your journey in brief about dealing with fans. How do you deal with your own teams? I know deadlines in entertainment are brutal. I know costs in entertainment are rising, and it's very, very hard to keep them under control. How do you guys approach that?
I go first?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going with another perspective because, again, Tracy's also taking photos. So I'm being conscious. I have a different approach to this because, again, I'm a... I wouldn't say I'm a single creator. I have a team now. So it's not like I'm still making videos on my own, touch wood. I've grown to a certain level where I can afford a few people. But again, in terms of what Tracy has, like a huge team. In my case, I've had hits and misses. So of course, the funny thing is, again, because you're not made to do this, you kind of think, okay, so what do I need first? Oh, I need an editor. Okay, so the editor was actually the first person I ever hired.
Did you also start out editing yourself?
Everything. Oh my God, I am the literal YouTuber.
One woman army.
One woman army. I did that for years and years. I think I got my first editor about 2 or 3 years ago. So I'm doing it in 6 years now. So 3 years I did it on my own, and then I hired an editor because your hands start hurting, and it's the most intense job to do.
Carpal tunnel is happening.
I have it actually. I have an issue.
Oh wow! I'm sorry. I didn't mean to joke about that.
Yeah, I know. Don't cry. So of course, so I started with slowly, right? Because again, I have no idea how to build a team. I'm just a human at home, like just making videos. And then so I had an editor. Then, of course, I needed somebody to help me with emails and calls because of me as a creator talking to brands. I used to do that pehle, but then I'm like, I can't be doing those things. I think I can't be creative, right? So slowly, I built my team, and there was a point I had more people. Now I have a team of 4-5 people. And the funny thing is, with me at least, I don't know how it is with other people or other creators. We do everything ourselves, right? We're not like one is dedicated only to writing, one is dedicated only to direction or editing. It's like we're a small 4 or 5 people team, and we brainstorm together. And that's what I personally like. I also work on my own a lot, right? It's not like I stand at a set and wait till makeup comes, or I wait till a dress comes, or I wait till somebody tells me my line. I mean, of course, sometimes it does happen, but most of the time I'm very much actively involved. So for me, the production process is just the fact that I do a lot of my own, like a lot on my own, and that's also what I like personally, because I feel we as YouTube creators, we grow because everything you see out there is us, right? It's not like somebody else made it. Every single thing, edit, even if it's like a flower standing on the corner, we might have put it there, right? So it has a lot of flair of our own personality in it. And I personally like working that way. Of course, there is one day in my life, hopefully there'll be like madam pani, madam agar ye hoga to of course maza aa jayega ek din.
I just at this point want to mention that I am alone here.
Oh no, why alone? What do you mean alone?
No, I mean,
oh yeah, but that's no, but see,
kidding, yeah.
Okay, no.
So I totally love the DIY ethos, and like we know Tracy is like boss babe with a lot of people.
And the thing is that there are struggles. I mean, see, even if you're an individual creator or a team or a collective, there are struggles on both ends,
of
right?
course,
I mean,
100%.
in terms of we have different kind of problems.
So I don't know this side. I know this side. That's why.
So basically, problems are there. It's just that it's different probably, and you're right now probably going with 4, 5. Tomorrow I'll come to you and I'll be like,
I mean, that's the idea. Hopefully, अगर और brands आए तो और बड़ा team बना सकते हैं.
Exactly, right? So I mean, it's perspective and growth, but there's again problems on every end that you see, and it's just how you deal with it and think on your feet and do that. I mean, and a lot of the times, even as writers, directors, creators, even if, for example, there's a flower pot that you've kept, we are so hands-on that it's never that, oh, I'm this department or I'm that department. We all get in, do anything and everything.
Oh, 100%.
And there are times when I remember, like, we were shooting 2 videos and I was like, I came in the morning and finished one shoot, and then I was there in the evening for another shoot as well. So, which is literally 24 hours of powering through, right? But that is because you love what you do.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
that is important. So it doesn't, and what I realize is that when you work with teams, it becomes very collaborative. And we, as a culture, we have this thing is that anyone can give their opinion, right? It's not that, oh, you're this, do this, this is your job.
Yeah.
It's always that
way. Well, in the creative
and
field it is. In other corporate jobs, I don't know if it's like this.
No, but so TVF has this very fabulous collaborative approach to doing work, right? And anyone can have an opinion and give their feedback as well. So I think that's really great. And then, you learn from that, and you learn 1-2 things, you teach 1-2 things. So it's just like, I have another question. So in terms of production value, do you feel there's a difference when, like you said, you started off doing videos with probably a phone, right? I mean, one of the biggest creators, BB, used to do that as well. And does production value, do your videos need to look a certain way, or it's just content? What is your learning?
See, I think for me, it's now become both. I think there was a time, and with certain type of videos, the production doesn't really matter. But personally, I'm somebody who likes to increase the production, increase the value, because it's just me. Again, every creator is different. But I like to, grow as a creator somehow with whatever limitations I have or not have. So even if audience doesn't want it, I still want to do it, because that helps my creative freedom. That helps me feel good about, oh, nice, we made this. And I'm a perfectionist. That's the other issue with me somewhat. So I really wanted to look a certain way. But if you ask me again, we talk about
does it make
BB,
a difference to how the content is being received?
I do. I think it does. But again, I feel it's creator to creator. It depends. So I think a BB today can still, he still creates the same type of videos he did back in the days. Of course, the content is different and everything, but I think it works for him, because I think he tries to do different type of content, really amazing music videos. No, I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I think his audience really likes what he does as a creator, right? Now, for me, I've been very experimental on my channel. I did a lot of weird things, fun things. I always check, oh, is this working? Is this working? But eventually I understand that there is a certain type of content my audience likes, at least, and I want to give them my best, at least. And for me, I want to put out as much effort, of course, maybe not in like lakhs and crores in production, but in somewhere where I feel like, yeah, this is nice. So it's just my personal belief that I want to put out the best I can, at least.
Okay, just plugging in, baby, we love you.
We love you, baby.
Yeah, we love you, baby. As a creator, adjacent business guy, as a fan of content, I think where it really stems from is what does your audience expect from you, right? Do they expect a certain kind of story? And my sense is audiences look for stories well told over production quality. That's the sense that I get, because I've never seen a comment on a piece of content that says, "Oh, your video is so grainy."
Okay.
Right.
Oh no, I've had that with sound a lot though.
No, with sound it happens. I mean, sound is
a lot. We can't hear you. What you were saying at 2:22? What was that word?
Yeah, and just imagine if your sound file has got corrupted.
Then what do you? I mean, you can dub, but then whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So those technicalities or certain places where it's not clear is one thing, but if you're telling a story well told, as a fan, I'm not going to turn around and say, hey, go out there and buy a 5D, otherwise I'm not going to watch your content piece anymore.
No, but would you watch probably a Sacred Game short like TV?
I mean, for Sacred Games, again, would I mind if it was slightly less production heavy? It's great production design. I don't really like the way it's shot. It's become very sort of self-referential and boring, especially in the second season. But does the production value hold interest for me as a viewer, as opposed to the storytelling itself, or the screenplay itself? Not so much. I mean, I'm okay with not having glory shots of content if it's just stories well told.
Beauty shots.
Yeah,
Beauty
absolutely.
shots, yeah.
Right.
Bokeh.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Right. And just to stay on this for a second, and I clearly waste a lot of time watching stuff in my life. But there is this new aesthetic coming around, right? The whole Big Little Lies aesthetic, where there's always that close up of the face with stuff happening in the background. See, if that's making a point for you in the character and the storytelling, you really want to delve into emotional state of the character, and I really want to show Sartaj feeling angst, great. But that for the sake of it, I don't know, man. Again, I mean, your creators, you know this better, but as audience, to me, I don't think that's the first thing we look for, right? You look for a reason to stay on with this piece of content, as opposed to kitna sundar hai, right? Let me ask you this, right? Clearly, the two of you have great stories coming out from your experiences. This is something that I want to ask you to where does content for women go from here to be more inclusive, to be more impactful, to start maybe more conversations? What do you think are the next steps? What's the trajectory like in the next couple of years?
I think more than inclusive, I think right now we need to tell stories. I think there's not enough being told, right? I mean, also explore genres. Stories, first of all, stories. I think we're always doing, I'm glad we've also moved from that vamp to slutty characters to whatever, even
Thank
the
God.
characters that we create.
Yeah, it's like, wow, that's the only existence for women.
Yeah.
Kamalika.
So all of that is changing, great. But I still think that there can be more. So I think the first thing that we need to do is that we need to have enough creators, enough writers, directors. They need to be groomed. They need to be so when I was seeing this comedy show recently, and I was kind of trying to understand the female comics, the male comics, and I realized probably, I don't know whether they don't have enough experience. And of course the guy won, but he's also really good.
Of course the guy won.
Oh no, sorry, that was wrong of me. But the fact that he was also good. But I think maybe probably what I like is that the women are growing and evolving. But again, if we have to give that a little push, there has to be more people coming out, more people doing it. Shit, this is becoming preachy.
No, but it's actually very true what you're saying.
It's the truth. I think
it's the truth. No, but I would love to add to that. It's definitely the biggest issue we have is there not enough women who have a courage to speak, who have a courage to, make content, or not even make content, even just, just have courage and come out and
have an opinion.
Have an opinion, right? Like, I'll tell you a small example. I go to a lot of college festivals, and whenever there are performances, it's like 80 to 90% guys. It's now starting more girls. So that I have gone to media colleges, there are more women there. But generally you see girls are just not, maybe it's something that has been taught at home, right? And I do understand. So we're in Mumbai, Delhi, chalo theek hai. there are girls are more progressive and families are progressive. But now let's talk about the smaller cities, right? They don't have the courage. Families don't encourage, schools don't encourage girls to, be confident, be, fearful. Doesn't matter what people say, right? People, they haven't grown up with this. So I think what Tracy was trying to say
also
is,
progressive families don't really have girls who speak up. And
they also don't know.
More than speaking up, I think the idea is to just express. It's
but
not like, there's something happening, let me speak up. It is express. Girls don't express.
Because families mein they say, beta, chup ho jao room mein jao. Kisi se baat mat karo. Don't bring up your voice. See, the problem is somewhat in the culture, in what is being taught from childhood, from when you're born, from the moment that a girl can't play football. It's all that. It's everything that now we're at a time where it needs to be broken down from the ground, where girls are now starting to become stronger, starting to, perform, be stand-ups, do YouTube. So it will take a long time for girls to be on the same level as guys, if ever, hopefully that will happen. But it's that thing, right? So I think when you talk about comedy and where it's going from here, as Tracy was saying, it's going to go everywhere, right? There are going to be more stories. Thanks to, again, Jio. A lot of people have a phone. They
I think Jio better pay.
No, Jio better pay me. I know, it is true,
guys.
Right?
Mukesh bhai.
Mukesh bhai, sun liya na, Rickshawali channel pe subscribe karna. Shares. Exactly. But that's
but
the
also,
thing.
I think, it's not just comedy, right? I think it's important for a lot of different kind of people to come out and express them. Women to come out and express themselves, right? And that will only happen. And it's okay if they're not probably progressing, but they need to just do something so that they make mistakes and learn. And I think that is going to change right now. And it's not like there aren't people there are girls who've been trying things and doing things. It's just that we need to encourage that, because also sometimes what happens is that if we do uncomfortable social issues, or we talk about something, or even if someone puts up a post about, I am happy with my body and the way it is, and I've put a picture of myself in a bikini, some people find that offensive and like, why do you need to do that? But it is her way of expressing how she feels, and that is also okay, because that is her individual choice, right? And I think that is important, as girls need to come out and express and tell their stories the way they want to. And it's not necessarily comedy, it's not necessarily whatever, but it's just tell your stories. Wow. And I think that's going to change massively, because girls are now speaking up, at least here, and people who hear this girls who hear this podcast. Also, I think men are also becoming very encouraging. Like, see, Vineet invited us.
Yeah, Vineet is the almost only guy here besides Rahul. Rehan.
So basically, the thing is that it's becoming better, and it will only grow massively. There are a lot of examples. Even Zoya is a great inspiration right now. Mm-hmm. I love what she's done with Gully Boy, Made in Heaven.
Made in Heaven. Oh my God!
Right?
It's possibly one of the only ones who's getting it as a director. Sorry. Huh?
Okay.
I really like Made in Heaven. I think of all the shows that have been put out,
look at the benchmark, right?
Yeah.
Earlier there were different benchmarks. It used to be like, I want to make a show like this. Now it's a different benchmark. I want to make a show like Made in Heaven. So the game is completely changed.
But the funny thing is, a woman is changing the game, right? So it's my opinion. I love Zoya Akhtar.
No, but it's also very collaborative.
Women are changing.
Yeah, and it's not just women. I think, it's a team. See, I believe that we have to coexist with our male counterparts, right? And it has to be a balanced thing. I think girls are expressing. I think guys, at least most of the smart ones, are encouraging girls.
Oh, they are. A lot of them.
Yeah, and I think it'll get better, but we just need to do it. Keep at it.
But it'll see. When we started many years ago, it was so tough and there wasn't any acceptance, and now see the difference. So I'm pretty sure it is happening. It'll just take more time. Funnily, you'll if I can say that, on my channel, it's funny because there are a lot of my subscribers who keep commenting on my channel and they say, oh my god, Didi, we love you, we love you, we love you. But I'm like, this is like somebody called Mahesh Kumar. I'm like, he kaun aisa, emojis likh raha and all that.
This is a shout out to Mahesh Kumar.
Mahesh Kumar, if you're listening.
Mahesh Kumar, if you're listening.
No, but the thing is, that wasn't Mahesh Kumar. That was his daughter who was commenting. So here's the fun part of it, that most of my audience, even though my demographic on my channel say a different ratio, I have like 90% girls, but they are not allowed to have their own Gmail account. That's why they use their brothers or their fathers or their whatever other person's account to comment.
Times are changing.
So it's happening. It's already happening. Of course, there's an access issue because most of the times in the home, either the father has the laptop or the phone or the brother. So the girls don't have their own phones. That's the only thing, honestly. But I feel it is definitely going to happen. But it just needs to be a constant push from whichever women are there to encourage more women to
and I think all
it.
of us are setting fabulous examples. This is not boastful, but we all, as creators.
It's okay, you're allowed to boast a little.
Thanks.
Boast, Tracy, boast. Do it, girl.
So, I think we are setting enough examples, and I think it's inspiring, especially like you said rightly, fans comment and they tell us, in fact, they tell us what video to do next.
Yeah.
And do this also and mail us as well, right? And Girliyapa girls, amazing. So the gang is amazing and they keep kind of talking about certain things. But most important thing is, I think we are setting examples, and maybe I would want to sit on a panel where there are people from different genres discussing what their problems are and how to make that better, rather than talking about we have a social issue and let's talk about that. And I think for us to reach that conversation, it'll take time, but
it'll happen.
It will. A couple of things that I want to note there. I used to run the fan mail for TVF and Girliyapa at that time, and the sheer number of emails that we'd get saying, I want to be in your video, I want to create videos, I want some advice, etc., etc. So let me ask you this. What advice would you give to a young woman starting out as a creator? Maybe on TikTok, maybe on Instagram, maybe on YouTube?
Just do. I know it's so cliche, but literally what I've learned in life, after all the, I would mention it again, rejection in Bollywood. I learned... Exactly. Thank you, Vineet, for the background score. Is just do. I really feel and believe, because also I've come from a background where doing different things was not allowed and appropriate. I'm pretty sure a lot of listeners might be from backgrounds where parents or families don't support what you want to do, maybe being a YouTuber, whatever it is, even a dancer. Just do it. Of course, do it in a way that you don't harm your parents or they get upset or angry, but just maybe have conversations. Just what should be in your mind is just this is what I want to do. Somehow find a way to make it happen. In a way, don't give up on it, because I always feel giving up on your dream is the biggest loss you can have in your life, and it's one life only. Although there are 7 lives also in Hinduism, so it's different. But I do believe it's very important to go for it. My biggest advice is don't give up. Don't feel if there's any like flashback, not flashback, any lashback, any pushback, whatever you call it, from people. Just go and live it and do it. And you might have failures. You might, just be upset and sad and want to give up everything. But in that moment it's just there in this moment. It'll pass and you will get there sooner or later. It's
just love punch it.
Just love punch it. Exactly. Thanks, Vineet. Hey, you watched my videos. Nice. Thank you. That's my advice. I hope it wasn't too intense.
No, it's totally great advice. Tracy?
I'm inspired.
Tracy, yes, I know you're onto it as well, I know.
So I think वही है यार, किसी का सुनो मत, जो चाहिए वो करो first of all, but do it smartly. Identify your niche. What are you passionate about? What kind of stories you want to talk about or tell? Do you want to use comedy? Do you want to do non-fiction? Figure all of that. Once you figure all of that, take the leap. Invest in yourself. Do it. Videos that are done or shot on phones also work brilliantly.
TikTok.
Okay. Yeah. Not only TikTok. You can do it on YouTube, Insta, Facebook. You can be a Instagram creator as well. So just go for it. Decide what is your niche. Figure out what you're passionate about, identify that, and just keep doing it consistently. And if you feel that at some point, you're getting certain feedback and it's not working out, don't get disheartened. It's always remember the credit belongs to the person who is in the arena and not to the people who are watching. Okay.
Damn.
So even if you're down there,
Mic drop moment.
Mic drop. Wow, this was like woo.
Okay, that's actually a complete quote, but I have just rephrased it and used it the way I want to. So just keep consistent. That is important because consistency will also kind of bring that discipline that's required. The other thing is that don't be afraid to make mistakes. You should make mistakes because you will only get better when you make mistakes. So make mistakes, and it's the learning. Live your life. So do whatever you want to do. Who cares?
Tito, damn.
Fantastic. I'm sure both of you are going to go on and make much more amazing content. Let me ask you this. What are your retirement plans like?
Oof.
Tracy, you share.
यार एक तो पहले बहुत पैसा बनाना है अभी. ठीक है, पैसे बनाने के बाद I think I would probably want a love shack somewhere in like Maldives or somewhere.
Maldives is really beautiful.
Right?
Yeah.
And whenever I'm bored with the guy, I'll probably come back to Mumbai. But yeah, I don't want to travel a lot. And I think when you meet a lot of people and experience different cultures, you just grow. I wish, like, I think everybody should travel and seek therapy.
How about you, Anisha?
How will I say that? Well, you can't retire from being awesome. So I
Another mic drop moment.
say being awesome.
We're breaking all the mics on this
Breaking the
podcast
mics
today.
tonight. That's what I'm saying.
That's lovely. That's lovely. My last question is something that we like to ask all our guests here is, can you recommend one piece of entertainment, one story? Could be a meme, could be a game, could be a book, could be an album, something for our audiences to take away.
So it's not really entertaining in that sense. It's probably also slightly anti-comedy, but I would really like to recommend Nanit, Hannah Gatsby. So I think it's
Just
a must.
fabulous stand-up.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. I don't know if there are pirated versions, but Netflix तो अभी 200 में भी
Don't
मिलता है.
pay for content.
Yeah, thanks, Vineet. Yeah, but also in case, I don't know, students. Okay, anyway, so do definitely watch Nanit, Hannah Gatsby on Netflix. It will change your perspective about comedy and entertainment. And if you have to read a book, if you're down and you feel like everything is against you, read Rising Strong by Brené Brown. It'll change your life. You will dare to do and live your life.
That's awesome. How about you, Anisha?
I forgot that name of the show actually, which I really adore. The Amazon show with the bird, the woman who performs. The new amazing show. You must have seen it. I'm just.
Oh, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
No. After that, the other one. Wow, you both said it the same time.
Yeah, we should have recommended that.
No, what is that name? You know though, na? Marvelous Miss Maisel is also amazing, by the way. Great show, sorry. But there's this one show, Flipping
Fleabag.
Bird. Fleabag.
Oh, Fleabag.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Achha.
So, of course, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Fleabag is my absolute favorite show. Like, I've probably watched it 3 times now. It's a woman breaking comedy.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Doing it so...
I didn't like season 2, but season 1 was like...
I personally feel it's just a woman doing different comedy. She's like changing the comedy scene. The way she just does her jokes and sets up stuff is so cool, and I just love that it's kind of funky and weird somewhat, but I love it, right? Because she's found her own type of zone. So I definitely feel you should watch Fleabag, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Also, the theme is very nice.
Yeah, and the theme is really great,
Yeah, and
right?
Phoebe
It's
Waller-Bridge
beautiful.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge is really kind of carved a niche out for herself. So
Yes.
stuff that she's written, Killing Eve, and
Yes,
there's
yes.
another show called Crashing. All three just
I've just
out of
started
this
watching
world.
Killing Eve,
Oh, it's
and
amazing.
I love it.
It's my favorite.
I've not
Yeah.
seen the second show. Which one was the second one?
There's Crashing, there's
Crashing, I don't
Killing
know.
Eve, and there's Fleabag.
Nice.
All three just
I shall
amazing.
watch it.
You just gave me an idea. I think probably retirement plans could be bringing international creators. Like I have this thing of Shonda Rhimes and Oprah, right? I would want to bring them to India and get like our people connect with them, right? I mean, Oprah's of course been there, but just imagine getting these creators. Shonda Rhimes, I mean, I think she's...
Why not create our own creators like that?
Absolutely. Why not
have
be
our own,
Oprah?
The Indian Oprah.
Absolutely,
and the
but
India Shonda
everyone
Rhimes.
learns from references, and if you see someone doing something, you know that you can do better than that. But sometimes you need the little push or little inspiration.
Oh yeah, for that 100%. Just for people to get inspired to do something of their own. Right?
Like, that's another thing about Girliyapa, right? So when we were building it, there was no... honestly, there wasn't like a benchmark. Like, in India, there is this team. Of course, there's everybody from Tina Fey to Amy to all these wonderful international creators, right? But when you think about it, when I started it, there was no reference point.
I mean, there
from
is
an Indian context.
Kanish Surka, my friend, I love her. She's amazing. So she's a great female comedian who's like trying. But even then,
but again, I'm saying from a perspective of because I feel also as Girliyapa, of course, a lot of our content is very, of course it's comedy, but we've also been experimenting, and
we've had no references, of course, in a way.
But there is no, exactly. So you don't know that I've grown up on TVF, right? So TVF pictures dekha to aisa ek show banana hai. It's like that, right? You know that you want to do that. So it's great, and we had great mentors. But again, when you're creating content from a female perspective, because no one's done it, you don't know whether it's going to work. You don't know whether, you learn that it'll also you're open to it, you'll get hate, but you also know that probably girls might enjoy. Plus, you know that an audience, I feel that the female audience consumption, I don't know, I think the numbers have to increase, but it's
there is a massive gender divide online. It is bridging itself slowly, but I'm sure with more and more content made for them, representing their stories, it's only a matter of time that we're able to bridge it. With that, I'd like to bring this episode to a close. Thank you so much for an episode full of inspiration and a lot of fun.
Karan gives those hampers. Are we getting something?
Oh, we're getting something? Wow, why didn't you tell us before? I'm so excited.
You're getting all of my love and half of my heart each.
What? Oh, half? Okay. No, I'll take it. It's fine. I'll take it. Thank you, Vineet. He's been very kind and sweet that we interrupted him so many times. So I take that.
Okay, so I also have to recommend, I forgot to recommend, please definitely go check out and watch Girliyapa. It's on TVF Play. Please watch Rickshawali. She's on YouTube. She's on Instagram. She's also on TikTok. Please
and
also
Twitter.
Catch the episode on IVM podcast, and Vineet will plug that in. Thank you, Vineet. Thank you, Rickshawali. Thank you, Kavita. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you,
Munish.
Thank you, bhai. I forgot your name, but
Terrace.
You
sorry,
become like
Terrace.
Darish.
Please subscribe to Rickshawali.
It was such a fabulous.
I'm going to end this with the typical end slate I always give on my channel.
Thank you so much, guys, for making
Hi,
time
Dayas, of course, also there, but
we love what you guys do, and we're here to be propagandists for digital creators at this point. So yeah, thanks again, and this is Vineet saying bye. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.
And if you want to reach out to me, I'm on @ Tracy Dsouza on Twitter and Instagram. TracyDsouza.
I hope you subscribe to my channel, and I'm sending you all a big love punch your way. Alright, guys? So make sure you subscribe everywhere. You subscribe to Girliyapa, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat.
And if you want to reach out to me, I am Ashcharya Kit on Twitter and on Instagram.
This is the amazing story of something awesome. Once Chuck decided to start a podcast, and so he did. The end. Okay, that was a crappy story. But I've got some really cool stories over at my new show, The Origin of Things. On this podcast, I look at the stories of how brands came into being and sometimes evolved out of quite unexpected circumstances. And to make it really fun, I reveal the name of the brand and sometimes a category only at the very end. The show is 5 to 7 minutes per episode and perfect for trivia junkies and brand nerds, especially those with short attention spans. New episodes out every Wednesday on IVM Podcasts app or website, or any podcast app or site that you happen to prefer. End of story, they lived happily ever after.
The modern world is obsessed with food and agriculture. Everywhere you look, new and exciting technologies are bringing food innovation to your street market, your grocery store, your doorstep, and your plate. From our quest for the perfect food photos to our rediscovery of ancient grains. Quite simply, food has never been sexier. But guess what? The modern food system is broken. It's a major cause of climate change, antibiotic resistance, and global poverty. So how did we get here? And where are we going? Most importantly, how are we going to feed 10 billion people globally by the year 2050 through better, more sustainable means? I'm Varun Deshpande.
And I'm Ramya Ramurthy. And we work for the Good Food Institute, a global non-profit accelerating the transformation to a more healthy, sustainable, and just food system. The next food revolution is here. On Feeding 10 Billion, we're giving you the inside view. You can tune into us every Tuesday on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts from.